All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We are looking at something absolutely wild today. A massive literary crossover where Shakespeare's greatest characters collide in a single, incredibly volatile universe. It's called The Crown of Ashes, a modern Shakespearean tragedy. Imagine a world where all these iconic figures, who normally dominate their own separate plays, are suddenly thrust into the same court, vying for the same power with literal apocalyptic stakes. It's a stunning look at what happens when the pursuit of absolute power turns to ash.
Here's how this narrative unfolds. We'll start with A Kingdom of Legends, move to The Empty Chair, explore the fire of betrayal, witness the ultimate sacrifice, and finally uncover what the ashes reveal.
Kicking things off with Part 1, A Kingdom of Legends, Shakespeare's ultimate crossover.
So who actually deserves authority? That's the million-dollar philosophical question King Lear drops on us. He spent 40 years holding his kingdom together, but as his strength fades, he's terrified of a total collapse. He knows that passing the crown down purely through bloodlines has historically filled way too many graves. So he completely shatters tradition, turning to his court to answer this monumental question.
You bring these heavyweights into one room, and man, you can literally feel the tension. We've got an aging Lear terrified of collapse, a brilliant but eternally doubting Prince Hamlet, Lady Macbeth running the north with cold, unyielding pragmatism, and Othello as the celebrated honorable general. And quietly pulling the strings in the background, Iago, masquerading as a diplomatic secretary named Cassian Vale. It is the ultimate powder keg. Which brings us to Part 2, The Empty Chair, a true test of judgment.
Picture this. A single, unoccupied seat placed right next to Lear's throne. Lear throws a total curveball at his youngest daughter Cordelia and the rest of the court by declaring a 7-day trial of counsel, courage, and truth. He boldly states, "I will not leave this kingdom merely to inheritance. I will leave it to judgment. Whoever proves most fit will take that empty chair." And just like that, ambition and suspicion go through the roof.
Now, contrast all that aggressive, cold machinery of power with Cordelia. Instead of plotting for the crown, she finds Hamlet, who is, of course, stuck in his classic overthinking loop, and she doesn't demand alliances. She hands him a simple white flower, telling him he can keep one thing without interrogating it. It's this beautiful, radical act of grace in a world completely obsessed with strategy.
All right, Part 3. The fire of betrayal, where things go from falsehood to full-on rebellion.
Hidden manipulation quickly turns this trial of judgment into a trial of utter paranoia, and things unravel fast, like terrifyingly fast. Over just a few days, Western grain records are mysteriously altered to frame Cordelia. Within hours of that, the king's royal seal is stolen, turning armies against each other. And then, in a matter of mere minutes, the capital is violently set on fire. The speed of the collapse is just breathtaking.
And who is standing high above this burning city? The cynical secretary Cassian Vale drops the act and reveals he's actually Iago. He literally says, "At last every mask has burned." He unleashes absolute chaos just to prove a chilling point, that when you apply enough heat, everyone reverts to selfish, violent ambition. He desperately wants to see the good fail to validate his own deep despair.
So we hit this massive philosophical war that feels incredibly relevant today. You've got Iago's pure destructive nihilism crashing head-on into Cordelia's unwavering empathy. Iago thinks that if someone fails you, it proves goodness was a fake mask all along. But Cordelia counters that beautifully. She believes goodness isn't some door you cross once and stay pure forever. It's a road you have to consciously choose to walk again and again, especially after you fail.
Moving into Part 4, The Ultimate Sacrifice, seeing how love survives the conflict.
The flames are literally at the palace doors now. Words fail, and actions have to take over. Lear realizes his catastrophic mistakes and panics, trying to just hand the crown to Cordelia to stop the bleeding. But she boldly redefines authority by outright refusing the inherited throne. Instead, she demands a civilian regency council to restore order through law. And, perhaps most powerfully, she unconditionally forgives her father, not because he earned it, but because love requires it. Down in the subterranean armory beneath the chapel, it's a literal ticking time bomb. Iago has rigged the foundations with black powder. As the fuse burns, Cordelia actually pleads with Iago, offering him one last chance to smother the flame together. Crazy enough, her empathy begins to break him. He actually starts helping. But then, bam!
A vengeful groom throws a dagger in the dark, misses Iago, and fatally strikes Cordelia. Hamlet is suddenly forced into the ultimate impossible choice: stay with the dying woman he loves, or run to stop the fire and save the kingdom above.
With her dying breath, Cordelia gives Hamlet the tragic courage he needs. She tells him, "You are carrying what I asked of you. Act." She completely frees him from his lifelong paralysis. Hamlet finally abandons his hesitation, leaving her side just in time to extinguish that final fuse. Love survives, but at an unimaginable cost.
Finally, Part 5, What the Ashes Reveal. Let's look at inheritance and legacy. The fires fade into dawn, and as ash drifts down onto the throne, the survivors confront what they've lost. Lear is just destroyed by grief. Holding his daughter, he realizes way too late that authority without tenderness is just a fast track to devastating loneliness. He asks why her forgiveness feels like a punishment. And Lear finally understands that true strength is an open hand, not a closed fist.
But check out what happens next. Iago expects them all to turn into monsters, but his entire thesis is completely wrecked. Instead of tearing each other apart, they step up. Hamlet learns thought must become action. Othello chooses civilian law over violent vengeance. Lady Macbeth opens the royal stores for the hungry citizens, and Prince Hal breaks bread with Falstaff. Iago is forced to just live and watch them rebuild, proving his nihilistic worldview completely wrong as they choose responsibility over pure ambition.
Months later, the kingdom is governed by a council, exactly as Cordelia wished. Robin, the young page who watched all these legendary figures fail and learn, walks up to that empty chair. He doesn't place a heavy, burdensome crown on it. He sets down a living white flower. It's this quiet, powerful final act by a child that beautifully symbolizes how the ashes remember the humanity that crowns so often forget. Now, this explainer barely scratches the surface of the brilliant dialogue and raw emotion in this piece. Seriously, to read the full The Crown of Ashes play for free, visit https:/imaginarytalks.com/The Crown of Ashes, a modern Shakespearean tragedy. It brilliantly honors Shakespeare's originals while saying something entirely new, and you absolutely have to check it out.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final thought. What really survives when kingdoms fall? According to this story, it isn't crowns or swords or perfectly plotted schemes. What survives is the quiet, radical courage to choose goodness again, especially after every failure. Thanks for exploring this incredible narrative with me.